Society is getting dumber. This is not the lament of a cynic, but an increasingly data-supported conclusion. Our collective IQ and critical thinking skills are in a state of freefall. The youth, disillusioned, are turning away from traditional education. Meanwhile, our cultural output, exemplified by Hollywood greenlighting films about sentient, slippery toilets, reflects a frightening new low. We are a generation that may well be cooked, witnessing the slow, inexorable death of human intelligence. What happens when an entire generation is deprived of the tools for critical thought? How does a society function when its most crucial decisions are made by the intellectually disinclined? To unravel this crisis, I consulted with the very researcher who pioneered the measurement of human attention spans, the professor who stood on the front lines against AI-driven academic dishonesty, and the MIT expert charting the uncharted territory of AI's influence on our brains. The discovery was stark. The problem is far more complex than a simple matter of screen time, and the solution is profoundly more elusive. As the saying goes, tornadoes don't care if you believe in them. They will level your house regardless. Pathogens don't care about your disbelief. You will get sick. The erosion of intellect operates with the same indifferent force. First, let's address the foundational question. Are we genuinely getting stupider? It is tempting to dismiss this as mere generational pessimism, but the evidence is dramatic and quantifiable. Starting in the 1930s, IQ scores in developed nations rose steadily, a phenomenon dubbed the Flynn effect. This was attributed to improved nutrition, greater access to education, and the reduction of neurotoxins like lead in our environment. However, since the turn of the 21st century, that tide has turned. We are now living in the era of the reverse Flynn effect. Studies in countries like Norway, Denmark, and Great Britain have shown a consistent decline in IQ scores, with some estimates suggesting a drop of several points per decade. This is not just an abstract number. In the US, high school math and reading proficiency have hit their lowest points in decades. College students today are found to be less verbally skilled than their counterparts from 50 years ago. It is no longer an anomaly for a university freshman to have never read a full book for pleasure. The cultural evidence is just as damning. The lyrical complexity of chart-topping pop songs has regressed to a startlingly simplistic, almost infantile level. Our entertainment standards have devolved from nuanced storytelling to what is unironically termed brain rot. To dismiss this as an old man yells at cloud moment is to ignore a clear and present danger. While every new technology, from the radio to the Walkman, has been accused of dulling the minds of the youth, something today feels fundamentally different, more pervasive, more transformative, and ultimately more destructive. The data confirms this feeling. Critical thinking skills are in an accelerating decline. This intellectual recession is happening despite unprecedented global education levels. In 1900, the worldwide literacy rate was a mere 20%. Today, it's nearly 90%. The average time a person spends in school has skyrocketed. The world is, by all measures, more knowledgeable. So why this profound disconnect between the availability of knowledge and the value we place upon it? The value of education is collapsing among young people. Between 2018 and 2024, the percentage of American teens prioritizing a college education plummeted by nearly 40%. The why is painfully obvious. They see previous generations drowning in student debt, often for degrees that don't lead to stable careers, while online entrepreneurs and influencers flaunt unimaginable wealth. In this context, higher education begins to look like a sucker's bet. But this economic calculation doesn't fully explain the evaporation of simple intellectual curiosity. For that, we must turn to the device in your pocket. As your mother rightly suspected, it's that damn phone. My name is Gloria Mark. I am Chancellor's Professor Emerita at University of California, Irvine, and author of the book Attention Span. She introduces herself. Dr. Mark's research began from a personal place. I was trained as a psychologist, and I became especially interested in it from my own experience, noticing how my own attention started to diminish when I was using tech. What she found was groundbreaking because, astonishingly, no one had empirically studied attention spans in the digital age before her work in 2004. The initial results were shocking. We found people switched any activity on average every 3 minutes. But if we just looked at their attention on screens, they switched on average every 2.5 minutes. And it has only gotten worse. By 2012, the average on-screen attention span had shrunk to 75 seconds. By 2020, it was a mere 47 seconds. This isn't a youth problem. Dr. Mark's research found no significant age difference. This constant digital switching has a physical cost. Our reliance on GPS, for example, is literally shrinking our hippocampi, the brain region vital for spatial memory. London taxi drivers who must memorize the city's labyrinthine map have demonstrably larger hippocampi. We are physically altering our brains to be less capable. This cognitive degradation has profound consequences. We're seeing a correlation of stress with shorter attention spans, Dr. Mark notes, reminding us that the WHO has labeled stress an epidemic. This rapid-fire attention switching prevents depth of processing, the psychological mechanism by which we comprehend and retain information. Educators are now forced to adjust their content for diminished attention spans, creating a feedback loop that normalizes cognitive deficiency. I worry about a gradual shift in society to accept them, she says, that it's fine to not do the cognitive work to be able to learn something. When an entire generation is raised on YouTube Shorts, will they be capable of digesting anything more complex? Smartphones and social media are not neutral tools. They are engineered for addiction. Endless scroll layouts, constant notifications, and the encouragement of multitasking create a world where sustained focus becomes a superhuman feat. The mere presence of your phone in the same room is enough to lower your effective IQ. This cognitive decline opens the door to a more sinister problem: the inability to distinguish truth from fiction. René DiResta, a research professor at Georgetown, encountered this new world in 2013 when researching preschools and discovering vaccination rates as low as 33% in her affluent Bay Area community. Her advocacy group, Vaccinate California, was met with a level of harassment that was shocking in its ferocity. They took pictures from my profile of me with my baby and started sharing them into harassment hashtags saying that we were Satanists. This experience led her to write Invisible Rulers, the people who turn lies into reality. She argues that misinformation is a misleading term. It implies a factual error that can be corrected. The real issue is disinformation, which weaponizes fear and emotion. The fact is not the point, the fear is. The blame, she asserts, lies not with the fearful masses, but with the, quote, profiteering grifters who monetize that fear. Get my oils, get my supplements, get my books, she mimics. I have a great deal of empathy for the people who are fearful, who don't know who to trust. These grifters thrive because faith in traditional institutions, government, media, science, has collapsed. Over the last 50 years, trust in these pillars has been cut in half. Experts have become synonymous with elites, and elites are the enemy. This creates an asymmetric warfare. Institutions are expected to be truthful and methodical, while influencers are incentivized to be sensational and disruptive. Social media algorithms, designed to maximize engagement, pour fuel on this fire by promoting content that elicits basic, powerful emotions: fear, outrage, disgust. It's easy to judge, but we are all susceptible. Our society's health depends on logic, the antithesis of going with your gut. The gold standard is epistemology, the philosophical study of knowledge, which separates justified belief from mere opinion. In 1858, entire towns gathered for hours to listen to the meticulously reasoned Lincoln-Douglas debates. In 2024, the political discourse consists of inflammatory TikToks and memes. In a world of short-form content, complex ideas are impossible to convey. We now live in a post-truth society, not because truth is unavailable, it's usually a Google search away, but because many are no longer looking for it. They are looking for confirmation of their pre-existing biases. This embrace of ignorance is a form of rebellion against perceived cultural superiors. Opportunistic political figures have mastered the art of weaponizing this anti-intellectualism. "I love the poorly educated," one famously declared. The lunatics are now running the asylum, and as René DiResta witnessed, Figures like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. have gone from fringe anti-science advocates to mainstream political contenders. Just as we were grappling with this, a new accelerant was thrown on the fire: generative AI. What happened to our mental arithmetic skills after calculators? What happened to our ability to remember facts after Google? Now, what happens when a tool arrives that can outsource not just calculation or trivia, but the very acts of reasoning, synthesis, and writing? I'm Metallic Mina, a research scientist at MIT, says the expert working on brain-computer interfaces. Her lab study, Your Brain on ChatGPT, was simple. Have students write essays using either their own minds, a search engine, or ChatGPT. The results were clear. The more robust the technology, the less information they retained. Using Google still requires cognitive work. You must search, evaluate, and synthesize. ChatGPT removes that step. It's not an aid to thought, it's a replacement for it. We're not doing depth of processing when we're using large language models, Dr. Mina explains. This is a quantum leap beyond calculators. You do not talk to your calculator about your feelings. You do not go to bed with your calculator, she points out. AI is insinuating itself into the most intimate corners of our lives, and we have no idea what the long-term effects will be, especially on developing minds. We do not have actual data that would show that a child raised with AI would be able to develop these critical thinking skills, and more importantly, actually developing any human relationships. This devolution, she warns, can actually happen within one generation. The outrage over OpenAI making its chatbot less friendly and the parasocial bonds users were forming with it is a chilling indicator of this future. This moment feels unprecedented, but there is a historical parallel. In 1475 Italy, the invention of the printing press, just 40 years earlier, allowed a Franciscan preacher to spread anti-Semitic hate propaganda about a missing child, leading to the torture and execution of the city's Jewish population. The Pope himself denounced the lies, but he was powerless against the viral spread of the printed handbill. The new technology intoxicated the population with sensationalism and fed their prejudices against a distrusted establishment. Sound familiar? That dark episode, however, was the darkness before the dawn. The same printing press that spread lies also spread the ideas that fueled the Renaissance, the Reformation, and the scientific revolution. A new medium is what we make of it. We, too, could be on the cusp of a new enlightenment. To achieve that, we must first understand the enemy. What is stupidity? It is not ignorance, which is a lack of knowledge. Stupidity, as the philosopher Christian Godin argued, is a functional state. It distrusts complexity. It dislikes change. When challenged, it resorts to mockery. It finds comfort in herd mentality. Perhaps the most profound definition comes from the theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who, writing from a Nazi prison cell, argued that stupidity is not an intellectual failing, but a moral one. It is a willed refusal to think, an abdication of personal responsibility to the group or a charismatic leader. It is a kind of internal surrender, which makes the stupid person capable of any evil, utterly convinced they are in the right. This connects directly to the Dunning-Kruger effect, the cognitive bias, whereby people with low ability at a task overestimate their ability. The dumbest voice in the room is often the loudest, a principle Machiavelli understood well, noting that a bold, simple-minded leader will often outmaneuver a more intelligent, cautious rival. So where does that leave us? The tide can be turned, but it requires a conscious, deliberate rebellion. Dr. Mark advocates for meta-awareness, actively probing your urges. When you reach for your phone, ask yourself why. This simple act raises an unconscious habit to a conscious choice, empowering you to be more intentional. Take real breaks to replenish your cognitive resources. Understand your personal attentional rhythm and schedule your most demanding work for your peak focus times. Ultimately, this is a battle for cognitive liberty. The phrase, "doing your own research," has been co-opted to mean Googling for things I already believe. We must reclaim it. True research is the humble act of seeking knowledge with an open mind, willing to be proven wrong. We have tools like AI that can be used for this, to help us process complex papers and find new sources, to go deeper rather than wider. The time has come to make our devices work for us, not the other way around. The time has come to choose the hard work of deep reading over the easy satisfaction of the endless scroll, to engage in difficult conversations rather than retreating to our echo chambers. The time has come to understand that this is not merely about being smart. It is about defending the very foundation of a functional society and, ultimately, our own humanity. The time has come to fight for our minds,